Anyway. Hello, everyone. I'm your talking tadpole, Greg Gutfeld. Joining me now, she could charm a squirrel off a nut truck. It's Kimberly Guilfoyle. He has more tails than a centipede's tuxedo. It's Bob Beckel. He went from pop flies to market buys. It's Eric Bowling. And she's America's sprinkled donut, Dana Perino. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, 3 a.m. in Bill Hemmer's underground slave pit. And this is The Five. This show's packed tighter than a pregnant pole vaulter. So let's do this, America. I tell you. All right. So we keep hearing about what's fair game when it comes to criticizing candidates. And I've noticed a trend. I call it the never mind then compromise. For example, when the media went after Mormonism, conservatives responded with Reverend Wright. Oh, never mind then. When the media trumpeted the dog on the roof story, conservatives responded with Obama chowing down on a chow. Never mind then. When the media brought up something from Romney's past 50 years ago, conservatives just read Obama's book out loud. Never mind then. It's a pattern. An issue becomes off limits if it bounces back on Obama. Trust me, when private equity becomes Obama's problem, Bain will disappear faster than Dana in a strong wind. But fair game is often dictated by the media. Think about what they deem off the table. Take Obama's support of OWS, or how he raises money from Wall Street just as he bashes them, or how he snubs Congress while moaning about their lack of cooperation. Which leads me to the biggest ruse of all. Compromise. You're going to hear that word a lot from libs disguised as centrists. But isn't compromising really defined as you give up your principles and I won't give up mine? It's like an armed thug saying, I'm glad you see it my way, as he takes your wallet.
Really?
Bob,
Yes.
You worked in politics.
Yes.
Or so you've told us. I really have no proof of this. Isn't everything fair game?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. We actually do. Isn't everything...
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. What?
Isn't everything fair game?
Yeah, sure. I mean, everything's fair game except for your family. I think that'll be, something that should not be brought up in campaign unless your wife's a serial killer or something like that. But look, so far, I think they've been pretty good. I mean, Ann Romney took a bit of a hit, which I thought was unfair. Michelle Bachmann. Oh, man, could I think about that word and just... Anyway, Michelle Obama has had very good press, as far as I can tell. And so first ladies and the wives of potential first ladies seem to get a pretty good pass. And unlike you, who would be vilified every possible way you could because you don't speak English.
Yes, and also I deserve it. Eric, who decides, though? Who decides what's fair game?
Well,
the media?
It depends who's president. If you have a liberal, if you have a Democrat in office, the media, the mainstream media decides. We try and do the balancing act for the liberal media, and we do a pretty darn good job of it. Bain Cap, can I touch on that a little bit?
We are going to go.
No, let's stay here then. Let's stay here then. Bob, is there another media outlet that gives you the other side of the underbelly of the White House? No, all you get is the stuff, the White House talking points that you get every morning on your phone, and that's all we hear on the mainstream media.
I don't take any. The Wall Street Journal doesn't take on Obama every day?
Who owns the Wall Street Journal?
The person who owns the show.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay.
Well,
I'll shut up right now then. Okay, good. I'm scared.
I don't know what point you're trying to make. I'm trying to say
I don't say the point you're trying to make.
No one knows.
We bring it.
Can I make a point?
Yeah, make a point. Wait, Dan, I want to ask you, you never hear about what's fair game when Bush was president.
Right.
They never brought that up. You can't make fun of this or that.
Well, I'm going to give a little bit of a counter to that, which is that after 9/11, there were complaints from the left that President Bush was untouchable when it came to anything regarding national security.
Yeah.
That complaint exists. I think some in the media would say that that's not true, but there was that perception. Another person that I remember today that got a raw deal from the press during a campaign was not necessarily a Republican. It was Hillary Rodham Clinton. Do you remember during that primary? She got a raw deal from a lot of people in the press because of this never mind then philosophy. It was like, oh, he voted 100. He voted president 100 times. The state senator doesn't.
No big deal.
Never mind then. Yep. And another example, I'll just give you one more, was last month when the administration argued for Obamacare in front of the Supreme Court. Remember, in the days following, everybody thought, oh my gosh, the analysis was that didn't go well for the administration. All of a sudden, you had the never mind then, it doesn't really matter in the press. If it had gone well, those stories would have been very different.
Yeah, nothing to see here. I want to ask Kimberly, here's the thing. When you go to play a game, you don't go to compromise, you go to win.
Right.
Isn't that the whole point? So, you know, when somebody tells you, oh, you can't do that, that's wrong, right?
Well, look, I think it's very healthy to have a vetting on both sides. And I don't understand why we continue to act like President Obama is sacrosanct in terms of his candidacy to run for re-election. Why not put all the facts out there? They seem to love to do it. They relish to do it with Romney or any of the other people that might be going against him in the past, and now just focusing on Romney. There is a double standard. And I mean, he's so Mr. Perfect that Saturday Night Live doesn't even want to touch him.
They got him eating dogs. What are you kidding me? And the other thing about it is, George Bush enjoyed more good press than Barack Obama ever enjoyed after 9/11. And he deserved it. I thought he deserved it. But the fact of the matter is, Obama's never come close to getting that kind of good press.
Let's stay here and right now, because I think what's going to happen, I think you're going to see the same thing.
Well, here, I want to go to you about, speaking of fair game, about Bain. Let's roll a clip of some Democrats talking about it, and then I'll go to you, Eric, for your response.
I believe that Governor Romney, who holds himself out to be this great businessman, should have his record looked at. I have no problem with that.
I think Bain Capital was a very successful business. I think they got a good return for their investors. That is what they were supposed to do.
They're not a bad company. Nobody is saying they are, including the president. This is not about Bain. It's not about private equity in general. It's about a guy who is holding himself out to be a job creator whose record is fair game at doing that.
So here's what I think is going to happen. The ones that really matter are the Steve Ratners, the Deval Patrick, who's, the mayors and the governors matter because they're CEOs of their cities and their states, and they realize that private equity is an important cash infusion. It's important to their economies. It's important job creators. I think the Democrats, who are governors and mayors, are going to push back from President Obama's disdain for Bain. And I predicted this. I predicted this yesterday. I think going forward, they're going to realize this is going to turn around and bite them in the butt, so they're going to push away from it. All of a sudden, it won't matter anymore.
We have said over and over again, we don't have a problem with private capital, and we continue to say that. The problem with Bain is that Mitt Romney has made a big deal out of he ought to be president of the United States. He has this little private equity company that had 300 some odd companies, says he made jobs, and I still say in Mumbai.
One of the biggest in the world, Bob. One of the biggest private equity groups
that is
on
not the criteria to become the President of the United States, and I want to hear him say something about what he did in Massachusetts. He was governor of Massachusetts 4 days, for 4 years, rather. 4 days, it felt like. Do you think this guy's ever said anything about Massachusetts?
He does. He talks about Massachusetts quite a bit, actually. But I think that on the school turnaround, on the job market situation that he inherited, and then on the Bain stuff. If you look at David Brooks, who's a columnist for the New York Times, well, let's not characterize him. So David Brooks, smart guy, writes every week. He talked about yesterday about he can't understand for the life of him why President Obama goes down the road on this Bain Capital thing when all of the signals are this isn't working.
Yeah.
Right.
So then that's what I'm just curious. Like, so then where do they go from here?
Well, like Fred said, all of a sudden it won't matter anymore.
It will just go away.
These are not stupid politicians.
Like,
if they don't think Bain Capital is cutting out there, they wouldn't be doing it.
But he said, Bob, he said at 4:38, after that NATO speech, the second question, he said the campaign is going to be about this going forward. On the podium.
He was asked the
what
question.
A mistake.
What is he supposed to say?
What a mistake. Great.
What is he supposed to do? Talk about growing vegetables?
That makes no sense.
I like
Bob.
that.
Growing dope in the basement of the White House? I mean, he was asked a question about Bain Capital. He gave an answer.
All right, that's a losing cause, and he's not going to get support like Eric said from governors.
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Kimberly, I want to ask you, on Fox and Friends earlier, Colin Powell was on talking about the idea of compromise, and let's just roll it, and then I want your commentary.
Sure.
Our founding fathers in 4 months could create this great nation and write a constitution by arguing with each other, but compromising with each other. If you don't compromise, you can't get consensus, and the country has nothing to, rally behind. And we seem to have lost that ability to compromise. And, I say, why don't you guys just knock off the hearings, go have a couple of drinks.
I'm actually all for having a couple of drinks.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that, Pete.
But the thing is, didn't the Constitution come from a refusal to compromise on values? Or else there wouldn't have been a Constitution.
Well, there was a lot of healthy debate at a table much like this, perhaps 5 or more people that decided what, in fact, should be written. Look, Colin Powell will go down in history as a great military man. A lot of people were disappointed when he went and, as a conservative, endorsed Barack Obama, who's the most liberal person that we've had run for president thus far. So I think he's been a little bit of a disappointment, you know, in that sense. He's saying compromise now because he's trying to equivocate on his position.
He's great because he was great military, but he's bad because he endorsed Barack Obama. Look, the fact of the matter
it wasn't consistent with his conservative principles.
The compromise he talks about, the last compromise we had that worked was with George Bush's No Child Left Behind. It was a compromise between Democrats and Republicans. It was not. It needed some changes, but it was a good piece of legislation, and they did it with Democrats and Republicans. Since these Republicans, these yahoos have got in the House, they will refuse to sit down and talk to Barack Obama, and if they won't talk to him, spuffing out.
Remember
he also refused to talk to them.
Yeah, remember.
He invited them down all the time.
That's not actually. Senator McConnell says that he actually did not have a meeting with President Obama in the first 2 years of the presidency. That you did legislative affairs. That's craziness.
I know, but I agree with that. He should have had McConnell down. It would have been a really boring conversation. But he should have had him down. But he did have a lot of the people from the House, the new members, down, and they refused to compromise because these people buy Eric's ridiculous notion that you can't have taxes.
They came up with a deal. According to John Boehner, they had a deal, and they were ready to sign a deal with President Obama. Right? Am I mistaken? They
According
went to a meeting, and President Obama changed it by $500 billion. You remember this? Remember the whole
$500 billion?
He changed the deal on the way to signing it.
There's a lot of discussion about who changed what deal, but that's all right.
I mean, do you compromise when you order a pizza? No. You say, I want these toppings. Do you? So the guy behind the counter goes, I think you should have
anchovies. Because I'll take off the mushrooms.
Oh, really?
I just want pepperoni.
No, I'm talking about when you order your pizza. Anyway, this metaphor is not working.
You can do half, like half pepperoni and half cheese.
I am done with this, Bob. Why, you have to go somewhere?
I do. Actually, I've got to leave.
Okay.
I've got 3 of my friends here from college, and I've got to go.
All right.
And we got to go.
Coming up, everyone knows Hollywood is President Obama's personal PR firm. But did the White House give top secret sensitive information on the bin Laden raid to movie producers? If you leave now, you'll miss Eric Bowling modeling his new white linen caftan. That's a long, long road.